Happy Sunday. I am Deepika, founder of Pattern Review, and this is episode 2 of Q&A with me, anything about pattern review. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you so much for such lovely comments and feedback you sent in for my first ever filming of this episode. So that was really fun, and it really encouraged me to film this one today. So if you like watching, I will keep on filming. um, okay, so lots of fun questions, but I picked only a few because some of them will take a little bit longer. And there is a sewing room tour in today's episode, so we'll do that towards the end depending on how much time we have left. I'm still trying to keep it to about 25 minutes or so. I appreciate you watching, so let's get started with question 1. I love this one. I started sewing during COVID, so I'm relatively new to the craft. Welcome to sewing and to pattern review. My question is about needle management. If I use a specific needle for only a few minutes and then need to change to a different size for a different project, what do you do with the old one? And how do I keep track of what's currently in the machine? I have 3 machines, sewing, serging, and cover stitch. So it can get complicated. Any tips would be appreciated. Yes, it can get complicated, especially if you're sewing as much as I used to when I first started sewing. Oh my gosh, I was addicted to it. Every minute I could find, I would sew. So I was cranking out a lot of projects and I was using up a lot of needles. And yes, changing needles depending on how long you have sewn with that needle is a very good practice. It can save you lots of frustration later on. So I can share with you what I do, and hopefully that'll work for you. I'll tell you more about sewing. So what I do is, if you are sewing with, I guess it all depends what you're sewing with. If you're sewing with something like fleece or a napped garment which requires the needle, which puts a lot of wear and tear on the needle, I would change it after every project. So simply take the needle, and I like to dispose of my needles in an old prescription container. Depending on if you have small children or pets in your home, you don't want to just dispose them. And obviously you don't want to ever throw the needles as is in the trash. So put them in a prescription box, and when it's pill box, you know what I mean. Well, some locking kind of container, and then when it's full, then you can just dispose of it safely that way. But that said, if you have, for example, used a twin needle to do a hem on a project, or if you have only sewn 1 seam or 2 seams, or maybe it's a simple project which didn't require too many hours of sewing, I would like to reuse it. So in that case, what I do is, this is a typical needle container, and you can see that, I guess 2 of the needles, I store it with the curved side back, which means that's an indication to me that I've used this needle already. And so next time I guess I can open this and show it to you. Okay. This was harder than I thought. Okay, so this is, I don't think you can see this. Let me pull it down. So you know how needles have a little mark to indicate what type of needle it is? Like this is there's a little blue, and there's a curved side and the flat side, and the curved side is what faces you when you put the needle in the sewing machine. So this is a new needle, and these 2 have been used. So next time when I have a smaller project, I will just reuse this needle, and depending on whether I want to continue using it or tossing it. So that's an indication. That's what I do. I will show a little bit later in today's episode how I store my needles. As far as sergers and cover stitch are concerned, I keep those needles separately. I buy the organ needles. I will show you those. And I've labeled them cover stitch needle and serger. And I don't necessarily change them out that often. But when I do, I, I don't think I actually reuse them. So I will use them for a longer period and then just dispose of them and just start a new needle. I think this is more of an issue when you're sewing with different types of wovens, because depending on the density of the fabric, you want to use a sharper needle or a universal needle or microtech, depending on the tight weave of the fabric. So we use a lot of different needles in sewing with wovens and knits as well. So hopefully that helps. I actually went and looked. Anytime I hear the word tips, I always go to our clever sewing shortcuts and tips. I looked in the needle section to see if there are any other tips our members are recommending, but I couldn't find any others. So, but yeah, that's a good book to get from your library if you want to check out some tips from Pattern Review. All right, next question. Tell us in more detail about starting Pattern Review and how it has changed over the years. I know you started it because you couldn't find reviews, but it has so many features now. So I mentioned in my last episode that we completed our 20 years, yay! And yes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what has changed and what has not changed. Otherwise, we'll be here all day, all night. I'll still be chatting. So things which have not changed is our core vision, which is a platform for people from around the world to share their pattern reviews and sharing of sewing knowledge. So members writing reviews, discussing their love of sewing on the forums, participation in contests, all of those things have remained the same, and for which I'm very grateful. And that's our core. That's what the website is. People come here to share their reviews and read reviews of patterns, and machines, books, sewing expos, sewing stores around the country or even outside of the States. So that's still there. Reviews are still the core feature of the website. What has changed is the way we share information, the way we learn. For example, in the early years of Pattern Review, if you actually go back to the older reviews, you will see that a lot of people, I think me too, or maybe, or my reviews always had the whole picture. But yes, a lot of people were hesitant in sharing their pictures, especially their faces. So you'll see a lot of just pictures without faces, and the resolution of pictures have changed as we have the cameras have gotten better, so all of those things have changed. And then how we learn, we used to learn a lot from the books, and I think there is so much information available online now, so the way we are learning and practicing things are also a little bit different. Here on Pattern Review, the way we used to teach classes online was different then than it is now. Like last year, we started offering Zoom classes. So that was really exciting to have that new medium to learn from. So let's talk about patterns. Patterns used to be just on paper, and we have digital patterns. There were only like 4 or 5 different pattern companies. Now there are over 800. And I think all of those things are exciting and new, and the fact that we're able to browse Pattern Review, that was I think we did that about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even a little bit, I don't remember, but to make the site to change it so it's available and easy to browse on your phones, that was a big undertaking. So that's kind of changed, but for the most part, it is still the same, and it is really nice to have some things which are the same, because I hope it offers a little bit of comfort to see the sameness of some things, right? I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. I'll go to the next question. That's a quick one. I love to know how big Pattern Review is now in 2021. The last number I could find is 415,000 members in 2017. Thank you for running the site and answering my question. Thank you for being a member and thank you for asking. So I had to look this up actually. The way to look at the number of members on Pattern Review is simply log out from the homepage and you'll see there, what was the number today? 528,000 members worldwide. So that is a short answer to your question. One of the things which you all liked in the last episode was show and tell, which is great because I love show and tell. I love to see what people are making. It's kind of the reason I started Pattern Review. And I always say that it was just me. It would be very lonely on Pattern Review. I'd just be writing my own reviews, commenting on them. So it's really nice that it's kind of like a virtual show and tell. But I want to show you what I'm working on. I'm wondering if I should do that now or after the other question. Maybe I'll show you now. So what happened was, after I filmed the first episode, I got so excited, and I know we talked a little bit about the sewing mojo and what to do when we don't feel like sewing. And this is a very, very commonly asked question. And I ask myself this, I see that on the forums, and I see many people asking this. So I'm going to remind you again to be kind to yourself. It is a very, very common phenomenon which most creatives experience at some point in their life or the other. And that's what we are. We are creatives. We create with fabric and thread. And I want to show you what I am working on this week. I love to do hand sewing, and I love this reverse applique method. I decided to wear this shirt to show you. This is Sew House 7 toaster sweater, which is one of my favorite patterns to sew. It comes together completely on the serger, and this one is in French terry from Nature's Fabric. So what I did was I used this stencil and I spray painted it, airbrushed it, and then I lined it with just black cotton jersey and just stitched around all of the shapes. And I decided to not cut it out because I kind of like this ombre effect. And so this is not a new project, by the way, but I wanted to show this to you anyway. So the one on my dress form is also Sew House 7 toaster sweater. You can tell I like this pattern. And in this one, I actually did cut out the shapes to reveal the bottom layer. And so yeah, it's perfect for this time of the year, a little bit cozy and toasty. Now I am taking a shortcut because I don't feel like sewing anything from scratch. So I bought this simple black t-shirt from Life is Good. I love their fabric. It is so, so soft. And I am going to make this simple t-shirt with all of these different embroidery, which I'm going to do. And first I airbrushed it. I have got to tell you that the whole process of preparing the garment for hand sewing takes so long, but it's totally worth it. So my plan is to do different type of embroidery on each one of those stripes and maybe cut out some of the lines and keep some intact. So I think this will be a nice project to have during colder months. So that's what I'm working on. I'd love to hear what you all are working on. Either leave in the comments or I'll check your projects out on Pattern Review. And yeah, so thanks to the video I filmed and your positive feedback, I am inspired, and I hope you are too. So this is the next question, which is going to take us some time, but it's going to be fun. Is there a way you can give us a tour of your sewing room? I'm trying to put mine together, and I love to see what others have done with their sewing rooms. When I saw this question, my first reaction was, I have to clean it. But then I reminded myself that I promised you guys that I'm going to keep it real. So we are going to take, I am actually in my sewing room, also known as my home office, and Dia's paint studio. I will show you, but I will also link down below in the comments, no, not in the comments, in the description, a blog post I did many years ago, back when I was blogging, about how this room came together. It has detailed pictures of all of the corners, and I know this, what I'm gonna do is basically just pick up the phone and just try to walk really slowly, because I don't want anyone to feel dizzy, and but more details will be in that blog post, so I hope that'll help you. And before I get started, I want to mention that it doesn't matter how big or small your space is, it is still yours, and it is still a place which gives you so much joy. And if it takes you time to create one, this room took us more than 5 years to create, and you know, but I absolutely love having this space to myself, and I hope this gives you some ideas. So let's get started. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to flip the camera, and let's start from the cutting table actually. Okay. I don't think, can I flip this? No. Okay, well, we'll have to do it this way. Okay. I'm gonna put this here so you can see this. So this is actually where I'm gonna actually put this here. So this is my sewing area. This is my table, and I have two machines. I have the Bernina over there towards the back, 530, and I have the combo machine Ovation by Baby Log. So there's my two machines live here, and when I'm working from home, I just put them aside, and that's my laptop sits there. My stash is stored in this small, it's actually not that small, it's very deep, this little room. So this is actually it used to be our screen porch, which we covered and made into my sewing room. And okay, so now I'll take you to my best part of this room. It is my cutting table. Look at this. The space makes me so happy. And this was actually, it's kind of set up like that in IKEA. All of the furniture in this room is from IKEA. So I love having this really large table because it's my height, and I can cut, and it has tons of storage. And I love how bright and cheery it is. I painted the wall in my favorite color. Those are all of the paintings done by Dia. It makes me happy. This is the ironing station. And yeah, that's pretty much it, except, well, this wall. This piece actually is from Pottery Barn. This is the only piece which is not from IKEA. And I love having all of my notions stored here. And then this space I do share with my daughter. So these are all her markers. I got this pegboard. I've seen a lot of you use these for sewing notions. So that is a very good idea, to use vertical storage. And finally, this is my, this is another bookcase from IKEA. So this is where all of the sewing books and patterns live. Yeah, and so I apologize if this was too dizzy and a little too raw, but that's what it is. I should show you the drawers. Should I show you the drawers? This is the IKEA Alex table. And I don't know if I can show this. Yeah, so these drawers hold a lot of notions, and I think it's best if I point you to that blog post because, oops, it's my Ina skirt. Okay, this is a little too real, but it's okay. This is the letterpress tray, which I know you can find in many thrift stores, antique stores. I sanded it, and I love seeing all of these colors. And it doesn't get direct sunlight, so that I don't find that to be a problem in fading, but I feel that if you see all of the threads displayed, you're more likely to use them. And yeah, so that's a quick tour. It didn't take that long, but I wanted to make sure that don't go on for too long. But I will say that a few of the tips I have to share with you, which has worked for me, is when I'm done with my sewing project, when I'm out of this room into the rest of the house, I make sure that I organize to some extent, so when I come back in, it is not such a drag that, oh my god, I have to clean up now, right? So that is one tip I will share with you. The other thing is, I did not rush this project. I did not not sew because I did not have a sewing room. My older sewing room was where my daughter is now. This was before she was born, so I've had this room for 10 years now. And when we needed a room for her, my husband decided that it is a good idea to convert our screen porch into a studio. And I have to tell you that this room was really nice to have. Last year during the pandemic, when we were working from home, my daughter was doing her school from home, and I converted, I kind of sectioned off, not like sectioned off, but this space for her arts and crafts. And it is really nice to have a space where both of us can create. And yeah, this space makes me really, really happy. It took me a long time to gather all the things which I love and have everything at an arm's reach. And I hope you're able to find a space in your home which brings you similar kind of joy. And I will also link down below, there is a forum dedicated to sewing spaces on Pattern Review. Perhaps post there, you will get lots of good feedback and lots of ideas. I am going to just do a couple of reminders before I go for today. Yes, the anniversary contest ended last week. So as you know, I mentioned last week that to celebrate Pattern Review's 20 years, we are hosting a contest in which we asked our members to sew either a top, tunic, dress, or a shirt inspired by 20 years of Pattern Review, and tell us in their comments in their review. So please go to the contest gallery, and I will link it. It's Laura mentioned it on the blog, so you will see it. And yeah, vote for your 5 favorite entries. I hope you read all of them, though. I hope you go and read all of the reviews and look at all of the pictures, and because the stories are amazing. Each and every one of them gives me goosebumps. It's really, really nice. And best patterns of the year. So this year we do plan to do best patterns of the year roundup, but for that it is important that you write your reviews, because you know that whatever you review is the data. That's what we use to come up with an initial list on which you then vote. So if you don't write reviews, the data is not going to be very conclusive. Take this time to write about the projects you sewed this year. And yeah, and December is a super busy month, so I'm sure we'll have more announcements coming soon. But until that, thank you so much for watching, and thanks for sending in your questions. I will see you next week. Bye.